I think are really important.
Yeah.
So, that humanity is key. And all I would say is we're all moving up the food chain. Going back years ago, finger in the air, we did a lot of guesswork in marketing. It
Yeah.
was very manual. It was an art. It wasn't a science. We've got analytics. We've got the ability with these tools now to almost be superhuman. Because if we no longer are guessing, and we might be a bank, we might be a retailer, if we now know that, because we've got granular insights, we no longer treat people as one big homogenous mass. We don't say, for me, female 45 to 60, I give consent for you to use my data. And now you can give me not only a very personalized set of content on the platforms where I'm active or even face to face, you can even start to shape your mortgage or your insurance policy or whatever it might be. So we've got the opportunity with these big data insights to be truly granular.
Mm.
But it is both. It's the tech, tools, platforms, insights with our all those things I just said.
Yeah. 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 100%. Yeah, so you're speaking our language now at Pencil. Like one of the, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but
Mm.
many of our viewers will be. One of the core features of Pencil is predictive scoring. So
Yeah.
the platform will look at the assets that you're creating and predict how well they're going to perform based on all of the data that's been fed back into it from previous performance campaigns. So definitely that's where we are
Yeah.
at, and what we're thinking about is closing that loop, opening up insight into, as you say, areas that used to be complete guesswork,
Yeah.
right? I mean, like the creative industry back in the old days, it was just the mind of the humans making a best guess on what was going to work, and then occasionally it was amazing, but
Yeah.
oftentimes it was probably pretty wild or dull, I
Exactly. Like I
suppose.
said, guesswork.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that
yeah,
predictive scoring is so important, isn't it? With
yeah.
those insights, that next best action and so on. It's really, really important.
So is that how you came to AI then, via marketing? So you
It
were
is.
looking at tools that could improve your performance as a marketer, and kind of looped around that way?
Yes and no. Back in 2016, I'm in many different industry sectors. Marketing is a discipline, isn't it? And it's,
Yeah.
horizontal across so it's a job function that every industry has to do,
Mm,
to be successful. And at the time I was working in facilities management and the built environment and construction. And actually that was a sector where there was a lot of AI happening. And so
mm,
I wrote a white paper for the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors about the impact of AI on the built environment. There was a lot happening in China and all around the world, and robotic process automation. And I got into it there, and then I thought, this is going to change my world.
yeah.
And I'm now at that point, I was no longer running a big agency. I was no longer living in London. I no longer had a big team. And I thought, how am I going to use this to really stay ahead of the pack? And that's what I did. And then I wrote a book on it, and I did start doing a lot of work and workshops. So it sort of went from there, really.
Mm. Um, yeah, it's that old thing, you want to be the person who wrote the book, right?
Yeah.
Like it's yeah, it's
But
very
it's
good and very
constant,
prescient.
it's constant. It is prescient. But at the same time, I'm on a journey of continuous learning.
Yeah.
The books, I have to keep up with the content, but even daily, I'm running a lot of workshops and keynotes around the world. I've got to keep up to speed every day on this.
Yeah, yeah.
The books are great intellectual property, and they give you credibility and a platform. But like all of your viewers, I've got to be fully up to speed with the new tools, the new platforms, the new legislation and stuff.
Well, yeah, that's why people tune into the live stream and sign up to the mailing list. Anyone who's watching,
Exactly.
hit the Pencil website, sign up to our mailing list, and stay up to date. But
Yeah.
yeah, look, you're absolutely right, and I think we're getting to a stage now with AI news, because I've been making content about AI for like the last sort of 3 years now.
Hmm.
Videos, not books. Don't know. I can't focus for long enough to to write a book anymore. Like social media is just destroying my attention span. But I think we're getting to a stage now where it's impossible for a single human to keep up with all of the AI news, because you have to go so deep into, like, if you really wanted to stay on top of everything AI, there are so many papers, like research papers, that you have to spend like a long time chatting with a chatbot about what they even mean, and
Yep,
then zooming all the way out and looking at all of the business side, and then like all the different marketing applications, all the different tools. I just don't think it's possible for a single human
I
to
agree.
keep
I
up
agree.
with that
Yeah.
now.
And why should we, in a way, and I'm not contradicting what I said a few moments ago. We're not interested in AI for the tech itself, which is what I answered to your very first question.
Yeah,
What can it do for us? So, what is
yeah,
our objective? What does success look like? What might our competitors be doing within that? And how can we really use tools like pencil and others, to really be able to kind of, like I say, differentiate or improve our customer retention, or improve our content, or open up a new segment of the market, or whatever it might be. So stick to, I think, the ones that are going to really help us achieve those certain objectives, rather than overall, what are all the new tools on the market and so on. It's just a wild west, and we don't need to worry about that.
yeah. So is that, would you say that's a running theme across your work, is focus on the use cases rather than, because that seems to be something
Yeah.
that comes up quite a lot on these conversations, is, like we had Alex Northstar on a few weeks ago, and
Mhm.
he said, I sort of said, what's the first thing you say to enterprises when you go in? And he sort of said, well, we're not going to touch AI, right? Look, the first thing we're going to do is write down all of your processes, and then we can start thinking about what bits you can automate. Like, would you say that's a similar approach for you?
Yeah, I would. I mean, no, I wouldn't instantly start with what can we automate. I'd start with, your competitive analysis of, what are our strengths as an organization? How is the market evolving? What's the competition looking like? Where do we need to be? And then start to think about, how is AI going to improve some of those processes, and, cost reductions and productivity savings and so on. But then on the other hand, how is it going to improve our retention of our clients and our growth and opening up new markets and so on? So I'd be looking at kind of like those sorts of aspects.
Um, so I want to talk a little bit about trust,
Hmm.
which is it's a recurring theme in AI adoption. How are you thinking about things like transparency, building confidence in teams who might be skeptical, or who might be intimidated, or who might not fully understand the technology? How are you thinking about this idea of trust in the world of AI?
Yeah, no, that is a really good question. I think it's back to, people are fearful when they have no they lack the knowledge. If people are worried about, and this might be a customer, this might be a member of the staff. So I think we have to talk about the why. We have to explain the why behind our adoption. So,
Mm,
we're showing employees, for example, it helps you do this, it doesn't replace you. We've got to be open, and again, the same with customers or clients, about the limitations and the biases. We've got to sort of like, so for me, transparency will build the trust. So even
right.
if we think about it from a legislative point of view, GDPR, there's a clause about transparent use of people's data. Of course, we're not in the EU, but the EU has the world's first binding law now on AI, and that's going to really kick in 2026. So I think, trust for me accelerates adoption, and transparency builds that trust. So we've got to be transparent internally and externally with our customers and clients about safeguarding their data and the benefits that they're going to get from it. I think that's, what I would do, and making sure, of course, that we're compliant, but that we aren't just sitting back passively if it isn't in existence, waiting for the legislation or the codes of conduct and other things to come. We can be quite proactive in shaping how our organizations are evolving, in the face of this new era of AI. And I think,
Yeah.
being, from your thought leadership as an organization, whatever sector you're in, actually working with the regulators and the think tanks and the academics and so on, to really shape how the regulation and so on is going to impact your sector. I think that's really important.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that you do sort of assume that you sort of have to passively wait for legislation to come at you. I've never really heard anyone sort of talk about it in that way,
Well,
in
we
terms of
you're
like
assuming,
proactivity.
yeah, you're assuming the regulators know. We're all learning, and I think the
Yeah,
law, the regulators, the law, the legal teams are catching up with the tech, and the
yeah,
tech dominates, and often tech companies are the ones that push it forward for their own gain, commercially,
yeah,
and then we all go, wow, we love that generally, and we use it, and it kind of it explodes. So I think I've worked with quite a lot of organizations around the world where, for example, they'll host like a 1 day or a 2 day event, and it might be to debate. And I'm thinking of packaging and print and construction and even in financial services, and they're bringing competitors together, and they're bringing the supply chain, and they're all debating this.
mm,
So it's that kind of thing, and it might be I'm, for example, on the all party parliamentary group. I'm not in the government, but I'm on a business task force
right,
for adoption of AI. And
yeah,
on that task force are other business leaders. And so you come together as business leaders it might be for in that kind of setup, or it might be as part of your trade bodies, or it might be, I don't know, all different kind of ways that industries are structured, and you play a proactive role in that. That's what I
yeah.
mean by that. And it can be, without sounding too cynical, it can be very good for your share of voice and your positioning as a company as well.
Yeah, well, I suppose not to get too macro, but that's kind of what kind of it's kind of how a healthy economy should
Yeah,
work, right?
totally,
Like
totally.
you don't want just the government dictating to business without having any kind of understanding of what's going to be
Yeah,
useful and what isn't. I guess with AI, it's so difficult because it's evolving so quickly, right? And
absolutely. It is.
there is a lack of understanding, I think, even in the private sector, even in enterprise, there's often, not a huge degree of understanding of just quite how much or just quite how transformational this technology can be for a
Agree.
business.
Yeah, and it isn't just government I'm talking about. This is government. This is the tech people that might be forcing us down this. This is, the equivalence of the British Retail Consortium or the Financial Conduct, or, different think tanks and groups and trade bodies, and, all these sorts of people that come together that have membership groups that need to understand, how do our members evolve with this?
Yeah,
And how can we play a role? It might be lobbying or whatever it might be, or lobbying the tech companies. It might not just be about lobbying government.
yeah,
So yeah, I think it's because it's changing the world of work, but also the world, isn't it?
yeah,
The
yeah, yeah,
future skills, what we should be teaching in our schools, the national
yeah,
curriculum, all of that. And are our young people going to be fit for purpose for tomorrow's jobs that Pencil going to need to hire, and
yeah, yeah,
your viewers are going to need to hire, and so on. So it's highly, it's evolving so much.
yeah. Have you got any answers on what we should be teaching kids? Because I've got no
well,
idea.
Well, of course, you've got two streams, haven't you? You've got streams of those that are really into their maths and their science, and they might be learning GCSE or A level data science or IT or computing, whatever. Of course, that's incredible.
Mm,
But AI is coding. So yeah, we're going to still need those tech hard AI skills. But then on the other side, every job function, everything we learn, whether it's English or law or media studies or whatever, every A level,
yeah,
when those people go from their degree, from their A level to their degree or straight into the workplace, every job function is having to use AI tools and
yeah,
is being reshaped by them. So we've got to be teaching people different skills, the resourcefulness, the prompting, the agility, the
yeah,
all of that, not just the rote learning that we used to do, and not all about the tech skills. So I think
yeah,
there's no one answer, but we've got to bake into the curriculum agility, just
yeah,
like businesses have got to have that, and it doesn't
yeah.
work at the moment.
No.
It's very set, and people are very nervous about you know those that are doing the marking. I can't think, all the edXLs or whoever do all the marking. Oh, can we use AI? We shouldn't be letting our students use it. Well, they're going to use it when they go into work.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And and they're
it's
probably
tricky.
already using it now, even whether
Exactly.
you know about it or not, like, yeah,
Exactly. They
yeah,
should
yeah,
be able to use it. It's like saying don't use Word, don't use the internet.
yeah,
But I know that that comes fraught with problems and all of the, again, the compliance around that and the what success looks like and the new mark schemes and the new KPIs. It's everything's thrown up in the air and it's
yeah,
uncomfortable for a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
execs and a lot of examiners and a lot of school bodies. It's an interesting time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, so as I say, I have a lot of conversations about AI, and it seems like the goal for the route forward really is what you want is everyone in society is essentially like the CEO of a small company of AI agents, right? Doing whatever they
Yeah.
want to do, whatever's useful, whatever kind of makes them feel fulfilled in their life, right? There, everyone is able to have all of their powers amplified by AI. But I do wonder, as you've alluded to there, whether that's something that we're teaching currently, agency and will to succeed
Yep.
and all of that stuff, even whether it's possible to teach that stuff, like whether it's you can teach kids how to be a entrepreneur or whether it's just something that you've either got or you haven't. I mean, and I don't know the answer. It's
I
just,
think you can. I think
yeah,
you can. I think you can. You can't teach someone's having fire in their belly to
yeah,
succeed.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
I've got that because I grew up on the 11th floor of a council flat in North London in Tottenham,
Oh
and I
yeah,
wanted
that's where my dad's
more.
from. That's
Is
where,
it? Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
wanted more. I wanted more. My parents gave me, the love and the support. Sorry, we're getting a bit personal here, but I don't think you can teach that, but you can teach people resourcefulness. You can teach people the skills that an entrepreneur will need.
yeah,
You can show them case studies of successes and failures. You can teach them, finance and marketing and business. But for example, I listened to, Steve Bartlett's Diary of a CEO, and
yeah,
a lot of the people that come on are saying, what about the boring, mundane day to day doing something constantly? So AI might help you do some of that everyday productivity, but you've still got to have that plan that says, right, this is how my day looks like, and this is what I'm going to achieve. And if I get 500 knockbacks, I'm still going to do X, Y, Z.
yeah,
You can teach people that this person did that, that person did that, but they've got to deliver on that. So one of the earlier answers I gave you was that execution.
yeah,
There's the theory. We're going to now go and execute that
yeah,
every
yeah.
day and keep changing because, I've done the same sort of thing for 35 years. Strategy, personality, great connection, creativity, but I keep using new tools and platforms to do it.
Mm,
That's
yeah,
what's changed.
yeah, yeah.
So had I sat back and waited and been of the wrong mindset and closed, I'd be, other people would have really overtaken me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, very inspiring message. So, look, as we sort of think about wrapping up, then, what are you excited? I mean, we're coming to the end of the year now. So,
Mm.
like, like looking at the year ahead, what are you excited about? What do you think is really going to capture our attention in 2026?
Oh, great question. I'm excited by the possibility for agentic AI. If the
Mm,
trust part of that really works, then the autonomous aspects of that are going to be interesting, aren't they?
yeah,
The
yeah,
ability. I'm still a bit skeptical. I want to see it working. I'm excited on a personal level. AI and my books have given me an amazing platform to travel around the world delivering keynotes,
yeah,
paid keynote. That is so cool because time's ticking by. So, I'm excited of actually seeing the promise of this really come to fruition. And I think we're starting to see, the legislation kicking in. We're starting to see, bit more of an acceptance that the The education side of it, is working. We're seeing changes proposed to the national curriculum and so on. So I'm seeing kind of like bits of it in many, many spaces.
Mm.
I'm also excited about what might happen next that I haven't got a clue will come.
Yeah, yeah.
That all of a sudden out of nowhere comes something exciting. So we've all got to be prepared for that next business disruption that might be tech, might be something else. So I'm always kind of like reading and watching and waiting for what that might be. But
Mm.
yeah, I think, in terms of like those that are going to really win in that very fluid sort of world are those that are going to be really sort of seeing AI as a, as a kind of like leadership imperative.
Mm.
So, vision, guardrails, operational discipline, but a real impact on the kind of like the human aspect of that, taking
Yeah.
our people with us, taking our customers and clients with us as well. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Excellent. Well, look, last question then. Is there anything that we haven't covered today that you've got going on that you're excited about that you think perhaps we should have covered? Anything that I've missed in my duty as host?
Okay, so one thing I would say is like I'm now a one-man band, and people often say to me, "I haven't got the time. I haven't got the time. Haven't got time." The barrier for me doing something with AI is time, and I say, "Well, that's crazy.
Yeah.
We are all, whatever size company we are, however big, small, however AI literate or not we are, we've all got to make time. We've got to make time." So I would say everyone's got to feel a sense of personal responsibility to keep upskilling themselves. And don't be frightened of it because you don't need to be techie to be able to take advantage of it. So that's
Mm.
one thing. Final thing is AI for good. We haven't touched on that really. And I think that's really important. So I run pro bono my own Leaders of Tomorrow in Tech school program, where I teach young sort of 16-year-olds how AI is reshaping the careers of tomorrow. So I think all of us could just think about what might we be able to do to really bring the promise of AI for the benefit of everyone. It might be our kids, it might be our nieces, it might be our parents, whatever it might be. So yeah, just think about that because AI could help the United Nations crack some of the world's biggest challenges of sustainability, hunger, and so on. Okay, that's at a macro level.
Yeah, yeah.
And then at our really, day to day level, what can we be doing?
Mm. And
That's
so,
how I would.
what have Leaders of Tomorrow got coming up next?
Yeah, I need to roll it out. I'm planning to do something in Africa. I did it in Cape Town with township schools, always disadvantaged kids.
Hmm.
I've done it 3 times in London and Kent, where Kent and Sussex, where I live. So I think rolling it out somewhere around the world, I usually tag it on the back of, if I'm speaking like I did in Cape Town, you know, great, I'm speaking. What could I do in the months leading up to that? Could I carve a program out of that? And again, that's all pro bono sort of stuff. So, yeah, I'm excited to see where I might take that next year. I've been a bit busy writing my third book and writing a draft novel, but
Ooh,
I want to push that out into 2026 as well.
sci-fi novel with featuring a big scary AI robot, perhaps?
Totally, completely something you'd never dream of. Really briefly, my grandmother, World War II, working class young woman, was married to the Prince of Zanzibar. And
Wow.
there's a whole incredible life story around that
Okay.
I'm bringing to the page to give her a voice.
Okay, amazing. Well, I didn't expect that.
You didn't expect that, but I have woven AI into my draft novel.
Okay, excellent. Good stuff. Well, look, we'll certainly look out for that. Yeah, seems like you don't stop. So you're certainly embodying all of the values that you talk about. Anyway, you're practicing what you preach and making time for all of this cool stuff. So,
Thank you, Tom. Brilliant, brilliant
yeah.
interview. Thank you so much. Hope your viewers have enjoyed it.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. So, listen, everybody, we're now at the end of this week's stream. Thanks so much for joining us. Remember that we are back here every single week, every single Tuesday. We're talking AI, we're talking product, creative, business, how AI is affecting the enterprise, how AI is affecting small businesses, all of the above. So, make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button and join us back here. But for this week, I'll just say thank you very much to Katie. It's been super enlightening to have you on. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Bye, everyone.
Brilliant. All right, everybody, take care. We'll see